Hey, Ron, if you can hear me, I don't know if you have the room muted or not, but I can't hear anything.
How's that, Mr. Weiss?
Yeah, I hear you 5 by 5 now.
Good, because it's 2 o'clock and it's time. Well, we're not going to call the meeting to order yet, but we want to remind everybody. Fred, make a note of that in the book, please.
What's that?
Stan's ignoring me.
Put that in the minutes.
Yeah, put it in the minutes, Bob. Before we call the meeting to order, everybody mute their phones, but I wanted to remind everybody that this is Bob's last meeting as clerk. So I thought it might be good to take a minute and give Bob some recognition, but it would be cruel to ask him to write down his own recognition. So the meeting is not called to order yet. So put your pencil down.
Oh.
I hope you read the superintendent's article in May was all about Bob and his contributions to the division. So I hope you all had a chance to read that. But Bob has been a force to be reckoned with here all this time in service. But Bob's always been understated in his guidance, which I've appreciated. He's helped me a lot. I came here, I didn't even know a train from a mouse. And Bob has taught me a lot about meeting organization and helped me when I'm going off the track. But he's always been understated about it. Like the rest of the board, he's never said to me, "Hey, you idiot, that's not the way you do it. Wise up." He's always said something like, "Maybe you should think about doing it a different way." Which reminds me of a quick little story here, and then we can go into the meeting. I think it was the first or second time I was chairman of the train show. We were standing out in front of the venue at 7:05 in the morning. We're standing at the end of Joe Fields' pickup. Bob was there, Joe Fields was there, and some of the dealers were there, but the guy wasn't there to open up the Moose Lodge. So Bob, in typical Bob fashion, says, "You might think about placing a call." So that's the kind of help Bob gives. Always understated, but effective. So if you haven't stopped by to thank Bob for his service, this meeting would be a good time, or the next meeting, because Bob will continue to be here and continue to publish the pie card. Well, actually, I publish the pie card, but Bob is going to continue to edit and write the pie card. So thank you, Bob. Okay, we're going to call a meeting to order. And it's May 11th. Everybody signed up with a room sign up sheet. If you didn't, at the break, please sign the sign in sheet so we can keep track of who's here and know that you are here. New members. We've got, as you can see, 5 new members this month. Ethan Davis, Duke Green, Scott Griggs, Nikita Henry, and Brendan Vidito. Now, 4 of these members were brought to us by Darcy Elliott, who I don't think he's not with us today. He might join us. He might have a chance to join us. The Southern Indiana Railroad Club is having their open house. There's second Saturday open house today, so he may still be involved in that. So he may join us. But he brought Ethan Davis, Duke Green, Nikita Henry, and Brandon Vidito. Those are all Southern Indiana Railroad members to our organization during this last month when he renewed his own membership. So,
Ron, is the FIR a 100% NMRA club like the K&I?
they are not, but they're getting there. And they may be doing that in the future. Their Southern Indiana Railroad Club is making some good strides at being better organized like we are, or like the K&I is, under Darcy's and Duke Green's and Ethan Davis's leadership. Duke Green, if you don't know, is the superintendent, and Ethan Davis is the assistant superintendent. Okay, thank you, Darcy. Well, we don't have any visitors today, but we have some of our wives here today. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining your husbands here at the Division 8 meeting. Nice to see you. Oh, this was our annual meeting, by the way. See this? You see the small print down here? If you go to Article 3, Section 5, you can read all about it in our bylaws, which are on the website. And although there is a copy of the bylaws in the members only section, there's also one available on, I think, About Us, which is not password protected. You can read the whole bylaws there. If you have trouble sleeping some night, it's a good place to visit. Minutes from the last meeting. I'm going to make Bob put in a request that we be sure and bring a copy, because people might want to hear the minutes his last time as clerk. But does anybody want to hear the minutes from the last meeting, or can we accept them as posted? All right, you're lucky, Bob. Yeah. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, good.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you,
I'm gonna make a note of that in minutes, Bob. They saved you. Oh, the treasurer's report. You want to get up? You can do it from there if you want.
I can
All right.
believe it or not. Yep. All right, treasurer's report for the month ending today. On the expense side, any questions on all of that? Okay.
Looks like you stumped them.
What's the location of the Southern Indiana?
The train show,
Yeah,
the train show in August for the Southern Indiana Division. Central Indiana.
Franklin Train Show. There's some brochures over here on the table if you want to pick one up. Franklin Train Show, August 3rd and 4th. Franklin, Indiana.
Franklin, Indiana. There's a brochure right there. Grab one.
Thank you.
Yeah,
They're looking for layouts if you want to display one.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report.
We didn't call for that yet. Can we have a motion to approve Mike's report? Thank you, David. Seconded by Stan White.
He lets you in on the second.
Yeah,
You ticked him off, don't forget.
I know. I'm just scared of him.
Don't cross me against it. Committee reports, member welfare, Mike.
All right, as you see up here, still lovely 4 letters. Again, no gift cards, no get well cards, no sympathy cards this month. That's 2 months in a row. And you're pointing at me, Kent. Yeah, I had, since you hadn't heard, I had knee replacement, but I just spent the night in the hospital. I don't qualify for any of that stuff. Thank God. Okay, I'm good with that. I really am. So we've had 2 months in a row now where we haven't had to give out any get well cards or sympathy cards, and that's a great string. We want to keep going as long as we can. These are fun reports here. Instead of a few months ago, we had a big long list of names. Any comments on the member welfare? As I always say, though, be sure you let myself or one of the other board members know of anyone you know in our group who has a hospital stay or worse, some death in the family or whatever. But be sure to let us know. It'd be terrible to miss somebody. So be sure to let us know.
Glad you're doing so well.
Oh, yeah, me too. But yeah, it is. I mean, it's just 12 days out, but it's remarkable. Yeah, so yeah. Well, they had me up walking down the hospital 2 hours after surgery. So, I mean, it's amazing what they do now. Get up off your butt and get out of here. You know, we need that bed.
No, insurance don't pay for it.
Yeah, that was my 98,000 ran out right there. Somebody else going in the hot racket and get another 90 ran out in that the rest of the day, I guess. Anyway.
Okay, before you sit down, I forgot to call for a vote to approve the treasurer's report. So all those in favor? Anybody opposed? Excellent report, man.
Thank God we live in America. Thank God we live in America today.
Yeah. I'm not one of those people that I'm sad to see the good old days gone, personally.
Mark Norman, I think it's
It's that time.
time for you.
Come on up. No,
No, but I gotta get positioned.
camera ready and everything.
Right.
Fred has earned a merit award for Cherry Cycle Shop, which you saw evaluated at the last meeting. Fred, congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Look at her. Smile.
Y'all didn't see it, I had it here last month, over on the table, but you'll have, I think Bob will have pictures of it in the pie card here real quick. Cherry Cycle Shop started out as a Foss Scales kit. It was supposed to be a bait and tackle and ropes and whatever seaside store, and I turned it into a motorcycle repair shop instead. So it was kind of a fun thing. My brother, Terry, is thrilled that it's Terry Cycle Shop.
Thank you, Mark, and congratulations, Fred. Oh, here's something interesting. The monthly modeling contest, and here's Barry.
And during the break, be sure and check out our display table. We've got some great stuff on display there, which is wonderful. We always love that. So if it's May, it's the months we get out our hacksaws, do some crummy modeling, vans, way cars, caboose, many different names. And we definitely this month have cabooses in all phases of their lives being modeled. So we had 4 entries this month, and we start off with Rick in honorable mention, an abandoned caboose. How many of you have seen one of those in real life somewhere? Yeah, that thing looks like it's seen better days. So thank you, Rick, for that great one. And then for 3rd place, we've got John Hilton. I think John might be first time in the contest, possibly. So John did a L&N standard but non-standard acquired patched over caboose. So it's got a big old patch right in the middle right there. So very good. 3rd place. 2nd place for today is Bob Frankrone, and it's the abandoned and forgotten caboose. Boy, oh boy, look at that graffiti on there.
And it's over on the table.
Oh, good. So that's one of our 2 that are on the table today. So
Some
thank you,
hoodlums
Bob, for
need to
that
be
graffiti.
arrested for this.
Yeah, some guy had a lot of time on his hands and a lot of spray cans. Okay, for 1st place today, Steve Lasher, Southern Pacific, C41 steel cupola caboose. Excellent job there with a whole lot of details on it. And just an aside, I've got a new tooling of this model that Rapido is doing on order, and I'm impatiently waiting for it to arrive later this year. It's one I grew up with those cabooses. So thank you, Steve, taking me down memory lane there. Okay, so good modeling this month. We're grateful, Steve. We will catch up with you at some point to get you your certificate. Now for June, 3rd Saturday of June, we'll be back here, but the 1st day of June is a Saturday, so it's all going to happen really quick this year. So modelers, be aware of that. We're going to be doing our final one of the year, and it's open loads. It's a favorite of Division 8, so we'll see a lot of great modeling for that. And then we will go ahead and tabulate the results. And in July, out at KRM for our picnic, we will be giving out the awards. So stay tuned and have a good day.
Thank you, Barry. Programs and meetings. Mr. Weiss, I believe that's you.
Well, okay, I'm here. Let me see a slide. There you go. So today, guys, our own Barry Christensen will be giving a talk on what was going on, it looks like, with the big Western railroads nearly 50 years ago. So that should be a fun presentation. Look forward to that. So Barry will be up to bat in just a few minutes. So for next month, we're going to welcome back Bruce McCohen, another Santa Fe expertise. And if you remember that a couple of months ago, Charlie Bogart gave us going to market, a milk can going to market. Well, this is something very similar, but a lot of distance that Bruce is going to be telling us how some of the refrigerator cars made it from California to New York City. So that should be a very interesting trip. So we look forward to that next month. And then it seems like we were just saying thanks for coming to the Christmas party, and it's going to be our annual picnic. So Saturday the 20th, and you can read all about it there. And of course, we'll take a train ride. But the neat thing that we have got for this year's visit down there and picnic is they're going to divide us up into some small groups, and we're going to get a tour of the shops, the museum, and the yard, plus our train ride. So that should be fun. And if you enjoyed the catering from McAllister's, that's what's on the menu for our picnic. And all this for just $10. So at the bottom, you can see Fred and Ron have made it extremely easy to buy a ticket, but see all the goodies in this month's pie card. Ron, I'll turn it back to you.
And and next month's pie card be out June 1st, if we're lucky. If the pie card editor gets it out on, he usually gets it out on time. He's pretty good about that. Which, once again, you got to compliment Bob. As a superintendent, I get copies from a lot of the division's newsletters within the Mid-Central region, but there's one and only one that comes out on a consistent basis. And that's because it's always ready before the 1st, but we send it out on the 1st. So
Yes, sir.
thanks to Bob Dawson.
Thanks to people who send me stuff.
Some people, not to mention any, send stuff in at the last possible moment. But that's okay. It gets in and Bob gets it taken care of. Trains at the Tree on Father's Day. Those of you who are members of Groups IO may have seen something about a mention of this earlier this week. I think it was there, but if it wasn't, you'll hear about it here. That's the Green Tree Mall, of course, in Clarksville, Indiana, on Lewis and Clark Boulevard. It'll take place at least Friday and Saturday. I believe it's going to take place also on Sunday, but maybe the hours haven't been exact hours. They're just putting it together now due to a management change at the Green Tree Mall. But it's definitely happening now. And the way the division is going to support this is by asking members to either sign up for a 2-hour segment to run trains. And there's a couple of classifications to be able to run trains. One is called running trains, which you sign up and bring your trains and run them on their layout. And the other thing to do is to show up as an evangelist for model railroading, which means that you're going to speak to the public about the wonders of model railroading and answer questions. So that's the way we're going to support this event. Oh, there's Sunday right there. I can't read. It's different hours. That's why it's separately. It was a big event last year. It will take place right outside the entrance to Penny's inside the mall. There's a kind of a big area there. And due to the Texas Roadhouse, that's of course Father's Day weekend. There's a lot of people that visit Texas Roadhouse because apparently some people don't want to cook for Dad. They take them out to Texas Roadhouse, and after you've had a big feed bag on, it's nice to walk around the mall and see some trains. There'll be more information coming out about this, as well as where to sign up and how to sign up shortly.
Hang on before you adjourn.
Okay, I'm hanging on.
All right, so, I need some input from you guys. I have 2 gondolas sitting over on the table. One of those I'm gonna take with me to Cleveland to enter in the People's Choice Award. I can't determine, so I kind of like to get some kind of just feedback. I think you're representative of the people that will be at the convention, so whoever tells me which one they like the most, I will take that one. So if you guys during the break,
Kind of like a better people.
it's a pre-test, right? It's a pre-test, right? So tell me which one you think from a people's choice. You all are people, right? So, some of you are people, anyway. Just let me know which you think I should take that would have the better chance. I probably won't win anything, but as Bob Johnson told me 35 years ago, don't just belong, participate. So I bring something. Okay, anyway, I appreciate any input you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Fred, you gonna do it from back there or up here? Okay, it's time for back to basics.
Funny you should say that. Did you all hear what Stan said? It's not a flux capacitor, and that's not the flux that we're talking about for back to basics. We're not talking about the flux capacitor that's in the back of Doc Brown's time machine. Because of course, it's got to be a DeLorean. You got to do it. You got to do it with style. No, what we're talking about is soldering flux. So how many of you all solder? How many of you all use flux when you solder? Yeah. Okay. So most of y'all probably already know this, but this is back to basics. We're just talking about the basics. When I started doing this, I said, let's just get in here, spend 5 minutes, talk about the basics. What is soldering flux and why should we use it as model railroaders? Then I said, you know what? Maybe that's getting a little ahead. Maybe we should talk briefly about what is soldering. But if I did a full presentation on soldering, we'd be here for the full hour just talking about the different ways and methods and techniques and so forth. When I was out at the Pacific Coast Region Convention a couple of weeks ago, did a hands-on 2-hour clinic soldering. That was a bold presenter. David Gibbons did that. He had 12 guys in there actively. Oh man, it was scary. So real quick, process of joining two metal surfaces together using a filler metal called solder. It's kind of the glue that holds these two metal pieces together. You heat the metal surfaces, you melt the solder. It's magic. It stays together if you did it right, right? If you did it right. If you heat the solder first and then the metal, it ain't gonna do it, boys and girls. So that's the basics of it. Okay, so if you do it right, when it's all cooled down, the solder is solidified. It's no longer a liquid, obviously, and you get this strong and durable joint if you do it right. The flux is there to help that process. So it's a chemical cleaning agent. That's really the reason for flux. There's all sorts of other things it does. It removes oxidized metal from the surface to be joined. It's always got some oxidation on it. No matter how well you clean it, it's gonna have some oxidation on it. When we build turnouts, we do a little bit of sanding on it to rough it up a little bit. And then we clean it off with alcohol, or at least with a towel or something, get most of that off. There's still some gunk on there. No matter how well we clean it, there's still some gunk. The flux will help remove that. It seals out air. It prevents further oxidation as well. That's the process. And it makes the solder a little wetter, if you will, kind of like adding denatured alcohol to glue when you're gluing down ballast. It kind of does the same sort of thing. So those are the reasons we do it. If you don't do it, can you still solder? Yeah. Will it be as good a joint? Maybe. It depends. All right, the bottom line is the flux is there to clean the metal and to make the solder flow better. That's the reason for it, okay? Can you solder without it? Yeah, you can. I did for a long time, and then I learned better. Comes pretty much in two different ways, a liquid or a paste. And I know there are other, you can get a solid brick of it and you chop it up, but basically it's a liquid or a paste. And whatever works for you is the answer. Russ has a small bottle of liquid flux that he's probably been using since he was in junior high school. Okay. Is that right, Russ? Have you been using it?
There you go.
There you go. Okay. I do a lot more soldering because I build all these silly turnouts. So I've gone through a lot more than Russ has. Again, there are like 8 different flavors, if you will, of rosin flux, but these are the more common ones. What you probably want to stay away from most of the time with model rotary, and definitely if you're doing electronics, is the acid stuff. There's a time and a place for it, and I'm going to tell you here in a couple minutes when it is. Well, I'll tell you right now, if you're a plumber, it's great, okay? But I also use acid flux. Just hold on to that thought for a couple minutes. There's also a no clean, which I thought would be awesome until I read some more about it and said, oh, it leaves this visible white sticky residue. How can that be no clean? You know, yuck. Well, the idea is if you use acid when you do model railroading, like on track work, then you need to scrub it clean. Yeah, I'm not going to scrub electronics clean, but if I build turnouts off the layout, yeah, I could. And actually the acid flux bites into the metal, unlike the rosin. So it actually gives you a better joint when you're done. Not a whole lot, but if you're building turnouts, it's worth doing that. Anyway, rosin, again, there's at least 8 different types of it. These are the most common ones. And generally what we're going to go is for the first one, the non-activated. The RMA and the RA, there's a little bit of acid, but nowhere near just straight acid like the plumbers would use. So that's probably what you're going to look at. So here we go. These are the 2 types of flux that I actually use on our metal railroad and when I'm doing electronic stuff. I do not use the Fast Tracks flux except when I am building turnouts. That's the only time I do it. I build them off the layout, and when I'm done building a turnout and make sure it's working correctly before it's installed, it goes to the sink, and there's some warm, soapy Dawn dishwater and a scrub brush. Okay, and by a scrub brush, I mean a metal brush that we're scrubbing on thing to clean it off. And then it sits over on the side on some paper towels, and then I dry it off and then let it finish drying, and it's good to go. And certainly by the time I paint the rail, then any of the acid that might have even been left by that is going to be okay after that. But everything else, I use this stuff that I get from Technitool. You don't have to go to Technitool to get it, but I'm telling you, that's the stuff I use. So all the rail joiners, all the connections for rail, all the electronics, all the electrical connections from bus to feeder to the rail, those are all done with this other stuff. So I don't have to really clean it. Yeah, you got to wipe it off a little bit because I do use the paste. That's one of the things Russ doesn't have to do because he's using the liquid. It pretty much goes poof. With the paste, it gets a little gunky sometimes. I use just a basic little micro brush to apply it, and it works just fine for me.
Yeah, and Fred,
Russell?
yeah. So the paste works out well if you want, like I said, a micro brush or just a toothpick where you just need, I mean, a little dab versus sometimes the liquid you might get too much, even though you dab off the brush. So both work, both have their pluses and minuses.
And
I can say that
Stan,
if you work with electronics, you probably don't want to use the liquid. I smoked my first expensive travel across the board.
does it? Oh yeah, it just flows. Yeah. Honestly, knowing me, the paste works better because if I knock that jar over, it's like, oh look, pick it back up. If I knock that bottle over, oh crap, now I got to clean up.
Yeah, and Fred,
Yeah.
that's why I didn't have that bottle since junior high, because it was like, oh crap.
Thanks, Russell.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that actually wraps up just a little bit of what we want to talk about in about 5 minutes of back to basics for soldering flux.
One quick question on the flux. I seem to remember, I haven't soldered in 30 years, right? But I am certified in NASA high reliability soldering from the Navy days. I seem to remember solder that had flux as the center core. Was it called solder?
Rosin core. Yeah, rosin core solder. Yeah.
It's still
Yep.
available?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but that's just the core. And by the time you get to that, it's too late for the ball game.
Okay.
I want to put flux down first because when I apply that heat, that flux is activated. It cleans the surface, and with the acid, it bites into a little bit. Then that rosin helps to make the solder itself flow just a little bit better in the after effect.
And-
Mr. Johnson.
and Fred,
Oh, hang on, Russ.
yeah.
Just think of this. if you have a raw piece of steel and leave it out,
It's gonna corrode.
if you have raw brass or nickel silver and you heat it up, it's gonna oxidize. On the steel, you paint it and it won't rust. If you put flux on your model solder port, it won't oxidize. The flux is like paint. It keeps the stuff from oxidizing. When you heat it up, and it's gonna oxidize quick.
Yep. One more.
So I was just gonna say, if you want, I mean, Home Depot definitely has stuff for plumbing, so you don't wanna use it.
Don't go there.
Solder, but they also, in their tool department, they sell soldering stuff, so you can actually get tubes of flux and stuff.
You can.
If it's like,
Oh, yeah.
Thursday night, and you, in an emergency, you wanna
Oh, yeah.
get something and you're out, and there's no, can't get it on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the technical stuff, that's usually a 2 to 3 day shipment. Fast tracks, about the same thing, although it does have to come down from Canada. And it's just that, I bought it when I first started building the turnouts because I'm going to use what they recommended. It works. Russell, did you have something else?
Well, I just wanted to say that even with the rosin core, flux is corrosive. And I can't remember if it was a TCS decoder or one of the, many deals on the signals, but in the module that you needed to solder your power wires to, it said, do not use flux on the pad. So you do have to be careful. And that's why, again, whether you're using the paste or the liquid, a very, very little goes a long, long way.
Yeah, and we could go off and do another 20 minutes on just talking about different types of solder and so forth, but we're not going to. We're going to call it there. And are you ready for a break? It's we usually do right about now. So my timer is starting, and we'll take a 5-minute break.